Hi guys, Allie from Mystic Cycle Center. Today I want to talk about bicycle safety. And no matter whether you are on the road or you are on the trail, bicycle safety is something that everybody should be aware of and um, kind of, along with having an awareness, have a responsibility for. So we did a workshop 2 Wednesdays ago talking about bicycle safety. We've been running in-person workshops on Wednesday evenings from 6 to 7 p.m. We will be taking a pause between Memorial Day and Labor Day. Well, we've been doing every Wednesday evening. Right now during Memorial Day and Labor Day, we will have to do a more abbreviated schedule. So stay tuned for that. Look on social media, Facebook and Instagram, and we will make updates for that. But as far as bicycle safety is concerned, as everybody knows, the roadways are a little bit of a scary place to ride. There's lots of car traffic, drivers are really distracted. So, we have to ensure that we're doing things to make ourselves be heard, be seen, we're following the rules that we're supposed to follow in regards to traffic law. And then outside of riding on the roads, when we go to local trail networks and trail systems, we need to make sure that we're doing things to ensure our safety as well. So a quick few examples of some things that you can do, especially when you're riding on the road, or like, let's say maybe a bike path that connects with different towns and stuff like that. Hand signals are huge. I think it's a great opportunity for our cycling community. It's not something that I see as widely adopted as what I would like to admit. But when you're turning on your bike, it doesn't hurt, and really it helps you to draw attention to what your intention is with which way you're turning. So left turn, put your arm out like this. Right turn is this universally. Another way that you can say that you're doing a right turn is by putting this arm out, but universally this is the signal. Stopping, you put your hand like this with your palm flat. And then slow down is when you kind of move your hand. You can go side to side or back and forth to show you're stopping. Other things that we like to point out, I never really thought about, I see many people riding and they have bells, and I always thought, that it was just like a cute little touch of personality. Even Chris, my husband, rides with a bell, and I never had one, and he was always kind of pushing the concept of, you should really get a bell. So one day when we were riding, I finally asked him, I said, why is it so important to you that I ride with a bell? And he talked about how while a bell can be like a little bit of your stamp of personality on your bike, because you can choose whatever design you want. It could be a hedgehog or a margarita or a beach ball or whatever. He also talked about how important it is to have an audible on your bike, because it's another way of signaling to somebody that you're nearby. And I never thought about how a bell or a horn on your bike could be a safety feature from that sense. So you'll hear people ring their bells and say, on your left, or just they'll ring their bell to say hello to somebody, or they'll ring the bell so they don't startle somebody as they're approaching. But also too, ringing the bell can allow somebody to know that you're approaching an area like an intersection or something like that, where maybe people are paying less attention. It draws attention to you in a good way, where people become more aware of you. We will always be advocates for helmets. No matter where you ride, you always face the risk of a crash, an impact, and you want to make sure that your head is protected. So there are a few things that we will say about helmets. There are two types of technology that are essentially like Pepsi and Coca-Cola. So there's MIPS technology, And then there's also wave cell technology. And some people are more, prefer one over the other. Again, it's like Pepsi and Coke. Both are great forms of technology for protecting your head from impact. Both have, gone through substantial research, substantial testing before getting essentially like accredited. So what I will tell you is this: when you buy a helmet, no matter how expensive your helmet is, the MIPS technology and the wave cell technology, so the technology is protecting your head from impact, will be exactly the same. The reason why a helmet can increase in price is because of the features that it may offer that the base model may not have. So think about like a BOA system on the back of your helmet that tightens down, a magnetic clasp instead of the button one that can pinch your chin, more ventilation, a lighter material, stuff like that. That all will drive the cost of a helmet up, but it is never because of the technology inside of the helmet that's protecting you. So you can get a $100 helmet that has MIPS or wave cell. It's still going to protect you just the same as a $300 helmet. It just will have less features. The other thing, so there's really cool technologies coming out that are based along the premise of safety and keeping people protected or raising awareness while you're riding. Garmin is a huge proponent of this. A lot of their computers that they make also pair with other tech that they sell. So there's a Varia taillight. The Varia taillight is amazing in the sense that it will pair with your computer and it will show you on your computer in front of you and audibly give you an alert about cars around you. So the cars around you will show up as dots on the computer, but it will also beep ahead of time to let you know that cars are coming up from behind. That is extremely helpful when you're riding. I think a lot of us, we worry about what we can't see, and that's always what's behind us. So having a little indication of what is coming up from behind can give you a little bit more peace of mind. Also, Garmin products, they store the crash data in the event that you do have a crash. So the law enforcement and emergency personnel can pull from that data when that happens to try to help solve whatever the situation was. There are too many hit and runs where, a cyclist gets hit, the person in the car doesn't stay. So that's very helpful technology as well. So no matter what time of day, front and rear lights are essential. So even during the day, because we will have people who come in and they ask about lights and they say, well, I'm not riding at night. Understood. However, lights are what will attract attention to you. So think about a car with running daytime lights. It's the same concept as that. And if you are running on the road, or I'm sorry, not running, but cycling on the road, you need to have something that attracts attention to you so people are aware that you are there. So daytime running lights in the front and the rear are incredibly helpful. There are lights that will flash, so that will draw even more attention to you. One story that I like to tell people, and this is a true story, there was one morning where Chris decided to commute into work via his bike, and I said, you know what, I'll be along in a little while, and I took the car and took Raya with me in the car. And as I was on Route 1, because we come from Westerly to Mystic. I was on Route 1, and I was approaching the light that is directly after Stonington Pizza. It's right by, I think it's a Shell station. And I'm approaching that light, and I can see this flashing light that is starting to climb Lord's Hill. And I thought to myself, wow, I had never realized like the impact of riding with lights until that moment, because it felt like the person was a mile ahead of me and I could see that light flashing, and it drew my attention way before I was even close to the cyclist. As I got closer, I realized it was Chris. And when he got to the bike shop that morning, I told him that story. And it's a story that we tell people to this day because it really shows the impact of how much more visible you are. Had he not had those lights on his bike, I never would have noticed him until the point where I was close enough to see him on the side of the road. So that's something that we really like to make people aware of when they are at the shop, especially if they're planning rides. The other thing that I like to point out is to plan your route accordingly. So the route that a car would follow is not necessarily the route that a bike should follow. There are a lot of main roads that have multi-lanes, big intersections, lights that a bike just does not weigh enough to make a change. So when you're planning your bike route, you want to take all of that into consideration. We always like to try to find like the go around to the main roads that the cars are attracted to. So we'll go through neighborhoods. Sometimes, like for us, since we're commuting from Westerly to Mystic, we'll go through Barn Island. Joe and a couple of our other team members, when they commute from Groton to Mystic, sometimes they go through Bluff Point. So it's just being aware of what's around you and what's an option or an opportunity for you to avoid the really heavily traveled high-risk areas. The other thing that I'd like to say about that is, beyond riding on the road and commuting, when you're mountain biking and you're going to a trail network that maybe you're not as familiar with, somewhere outside of like your local realm, you want to do your research ahead of time. So the reason why I say that is because some trail networks are designed to be directional, meaning the trail is only supposed to be used in one direction. Because of that, you want to be aware of which direction you're supposed to be traveling with, because the last thing you want to do is be traveling against traffic, especially when you're not supposed to be, because then you're going to run into several riders. So, there are many apps that you can use. A great app that would give you this information is Trailforks. Always just do a search of where you are planning to ride. There are many forums and information available online that you can find, just basically giving you a rundown of where you're headed. But Trailforks is a great app. There are several other really great riding apps that we love to recommend to our cycling community. Strava is one that is very widely used. You've probably heard of it. Gravelmap.com is a great platform for anybody who is getting into or doing gravel riding. That one is really cool. It has loops. Sometimes photos get posted of what the loop is like. Ride with GPS is another very well-known riding platform. Trailforks, as I mentioned, is great for mountain biking. Again, if you're going to ride somewhere you're not as familiar with and you're traveling a little ways to get there, Trailforks is a great way to be on the trail and be able to look and see where you should be headed. And then another is Garmin. So the Garmin computers, when you have a Garmin computer, they plan their routes based off of bike traffic. They're not planned off car traffic, which is something that, like if you were to go to Google and use Google's GPS platform, Google would automatically give you a route for a car. You'd have to manually select that you're riding via bike. Garmin automatically gives you a bike route. And the other really cool thing is when you have a Garmin computer, you can actually say to the computer, I want to do a 20-mile ride. I want to do, this much climbing. So whether you want to do a lot of climbing or not. And it will give you a route in the area that other cyclists like. So it's very cool in that sense. You can take it with you and travel. You don't have to necessarily know the area, and it's able to hand you over a route that it thinks you would like based off of what you're asking for. So again, safety wise, when you're on a bike, think about hand signals, think about front and rear daytime running lights. In the dark, if you're, mountain biking and you're or commuting and your ride is on the shoulder of, it getting darker, make sure you have lights with you. The use of an audible, so a bell or a horn, just as a warning signal. And then think about safety tech and gear, so your helmets, your computers, your taillights, that can also pair with your computer. And then planning your route accordingly and using whatever apps are accessible to you. Give us a like, give us a follow on our YouTube, follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Be on the lookout for more workshops. Again, like I said, until next week, which is May 25th, we are doing our workshops Wednesday evenings, 6 to 7 p.m. We will do more after that. They just will not be on a weekly basis. Sundays, we are starting our post-ride pizza party event. So that is in partnership with Beard Brewing, Woodfellas, Wood-Fired Pizza. And we are actually really excited to be offering live music. Tristan Ether Music will be there. That's Sundays from noon to 4 p.m. Just show up at the bike shop. It'll be on the lawn and on our patio. You can do your ride ahead of time, gather with friends after or family, get some pizza, get some beer, and listen to some live music. And, give us a like, give us a follow, and we will see you at the shop.